Now, his criminal career is winding down a little in his old age. When he was 68, in September 2011, he did a crime. It was the Heist acts. But the art newspaper in London, their headline read that he's not stealing Monet's haystacks. See, his longtime girlfriend, they live in Blackstone, Massachusetts, and they have a whole bunch of animals. Dogs, chickens, goats, horses, a lot of big, mean, scary dogs. Big, barking, scary dogs. They cost a lot to feed. A farmer in the area noticed about a couple grand of hay missing from, he sells hay, and he noticed a couple grand missing over a couple weeks. So he alerts the police, they start watching his farm for him. They roll up on Miles throwing a couple $100 worth of hay over the fence to steal. Now, you gotta give him credit for trying, but a 68-year-old isn't gonna get away from those young cops, and he didn't get very far. He claimed that he merely forgot to pay for the hay. But that's, his last caper was haystacks. Now, both Miles and Youngworth were questioned immediately after the heist. So were many art thieves. Anyone they thought could have been suspect, they were just thrown out the net. But now Miles claims he cased the Gardner back in '74. He said that he got disinterested in it and distracted by the Boston Fine Arts because they had a better collection and it was just as easy. Miles claims his friend Bobby Donati was one of the guys who pulled off the job. They did it using his plans, and that they were going to cut him in, supposedly. Donati can't answer to this because he was found not too long after the heist. He was found in a trunk with 19 stab wounds in his neck cut. So he was a mob enforcer, and someone got mad at him. And this again is what this painting upstairs is about, is all these different theories and people talking. William Youngworth, now they hate each other, because Miles claims that Youngworth stole some art and antiques from him. But William Youngworth has a different version of it and how it went down. He claims that he had a lucrative ID racket going, and that their ID equipment, he was making IDs for Joe Mack. Joe McDonald was the hitman up in Boston, a real important hitman up in Boston, and they were making IDs for him. He claims that there was a raid and their ID equipment was stolen. So they had a guard on the inside of the Simmons College that allegedly led them inside. They loaded the truck with all the equipment and handcuffed it to the pipes down in the basement, and the guy claimed it was a robbery, and that's similar to what happened in the Gardner. And again, it's right in the spirit of the painting upstairs, because everyone has a story and you got to sift through all these leads. What happened was, there was a director in '89 named Bump Hadley, and there was a lot of problems at the Gardner. And they were low on funds, they needed a lot of restoration work, they had terrible security. Bump Hadley was pushing for all these reforms. He ruffled some feathers and finally got bought out and went on his way. But he did convince him before he left to remand security. The word got out on the street that they were going to do this, and a lot of people cased that place. You know, many people cased it, they know it because it was an easy score. And it's just like walking past that window and seeing the Basquiat. So then the word did get out in the street and maybe the heist went down faster than it was supposed to, or before people were prepared. It's just they knew that if they didn't move fast, then everything was going to change. Now Youngworth really got attention after a prison snitch fingered him from the jail cell. He fingered him as an involved party in the robbery, and law enforcement started, pressuring him and squeezing him. They raided his house outside of Boston, armed with a barn that was looking for weapons. It was 2 grenade launchers, a couple MAC-10s, and a sawed-off shotgun. They spent over an hour searching his whole house and his acre lot, but they didn't find anything. They came up empty-handed. Other than they found a little marijuana cigarette, they found 2 antique firearms, and they found a stolen van. And so he was facing like 15 years on this stolen van. And he had a wife and a little boy to take care of, so he wanted to make a plea. He said, I can get you back the seal of the colony of Massachusetts, 300 years old, that was stolen out of the State House. It was stolen out of the State House in '84. They said, sure. So they retrieved this seal out of the bookcase, and now alarm bells ring. They said, well, he can give us this. Maybe he can give us something on the Gardner after all. So they said, deals off. They started squeezing him. He wouldn't talk, and they put him in the jail cell. So he got a little cagey and paranoid after that because he felt he was double-crossed. And it's interesting how it all unrolls now. Now this is Tom Ashburger, the Herald. And Mansberg, after he got out, started pursuing the Young Work League. And he started writing a lot of articles, and he called it smoking out. He was trying to get a stimulus of response technique. He was trying to write an article, trying to get Young Work to speak. Well, finally, Young Work approached him and said, hey, maybe you should ask me before you write anything else, and you get it right. Young Work eventually came out and claimed he could recover the paintings, and he wanted immunity, he wanted the reward, and he wanted Miles out of jail. They said, words aren't enough, we want some proof. So that's when there was a famous sighting. On August 27, 1997, Mansberg wrote the famous article in the Boston Herald, We've Seen It, and it being the storm in the Sea of Galilee. He claims he was taken to a warehouse, a long ride to a warehouse where they showed him the Sea of Galilee. A short time later, he was given 25 photos and a vial of paint chips. Now those paint chips were tested by an expert, Walter C. McCrone. McCrone came back and said they're totally consistent with a Rembrandt. The museum came back a short time later and said they might be consistent with a 17th century painting, but they're not consistent with our Rembrandts because there's lacking of varnish, a layer of varnish that he used on all his paintings at that time. So they're discounting this, that it's not art paint chips. Young Work fired right back and said, I never said they were from the Rembrandt, you people did. You got authentic material from the Vermeer and you're choosing to compare it to the wrong painting. And this was just one of the many movements in the cat and mouse game, a long cat and mouse game between Young Work and the authorities, since they were each negotiating around a table together. Now, I think that this is still an unfinished story. This happened 7 years after the theft, and people still come back to him, even though he's now thought of as this big con, but people still come back to him because it is a book that was never closed. They should have called his bluff. They should have said, here's your immunity, show us all the paintings and you get the reward. They wouldn't do that because of a lot of criticism that they were helping thieves. They can't give the reward to someone who's culpable. They would have just, it wouldn't have been good. So they kept the negotiations going on and they never called his bluff. But now there's still doubts in some people's mind. Diddy or Diddy's the only person that ever came forward and said, I can do this. There was also questions about whether the artworks would have came back, the total group of 13, and if they would have been damaged. Because there's a stipulation, you can't get the reward if anything's damaged. Unfortunately, we know that 2 of the paintings, the Rembrandts, were cut from the canvas, so they are damaged. And some things might be ruined. You don't know, if they would have folded them or rolled them. Now, Billy thought the board members were honestly negotiating with him, and Hawley and Arnold Hyatt in particular. He did take Arnold Hyatt, and they gave him 10 grand as a good faith gesture. He was accused by some of extorting them, So it was a big, terrible thing for everyone involved, this whole deal from the theft right through all the negotiations. And I really loved the artworks, and he even offered, when they realized the authorities weren't going to give him the reward because, there's some kind of culpability or connection there. I had actually told him I would pay you out of my own bank account just to get those paintings back. I kind of liked that his dedication to it, that he was willing to use his own money. One interesting note is Mansberg and the Herald received a lot of criticism from the We Seen It article. A lawyer named Dershowitz slammed him in the Boston Mag, and he was accusing both the authorities and the Herald of helping criminals. He said that Mansberg should have alerted the feds and have them tail the car so that instead of reading We've Seen It, you would read We Captured It. And this is utter nonsense because, first of all, he's a reporter. He's not like a tough agent, or he's a civilian. He should not put his life on the line, and you double cross these guys, you got problems. And then also he's a reporter, and they can't just burn sources. That's against their whole code of ethics. So I think Dershowitz is totally wrong. But he did state that if these received a reward and immunity, it would create a big incentive. It would create a big incentive to steal art. And I think this criticism definitely helped form the way the authorities approached this after that, because they didn't want this criticism. If someone did end up with the immunity and the reward and ended up on the beach, the French Riviera, with a champagne glass, it wouldn't have looked good at all. And then there is always the case, they think that it would be incentive. My take is, get these paintings back now. You have to take drastic measures. It's been 22 years, and then we have to take steps to safeguard our treasures. That's just my take on it. Okay, now, this is Anthony Amore. He's now the current head of security at the Gardner. And to soothe your art-loving nerves, I must inform you that this won't happen again. I mean, it's state-of-the-art now, the security there. They couldn't pull off this kind of burglary or nighttime job. There's always an insider threat, you know. And he just wrote a book, Stealing Rembrandts with Mashberg, and they even state that, but all experts agree. It's always, they go to the staff first when something's missing from a museum. But as far as a major heist, it's not going to happen. But I must tell you that even though now it's state-of-the-art, in 1990 the security was a joke. And that's one of the guards when they found him in the basement. And they say all the world's a stage and all the players are fools, but these two fools, the guards, turned out to be the biggest fools on the stage because they forgot their lines. Their lines were to protect the artwork, and they failed to do that. I personally think one of the guards was in on it. One interesting note, and again, like, one interesting note was that recently reported on the 20th anniversary of the heist, Tom Mersberg, who now, again, Youngworth and Mashberg hate each other. He claims that Mashberg is a con, but he still thought it was important to, on the 20th anniversary of the heist, to report that one of these guards lived around the corner from the Austin antique store that Youngworth owned, and he got beat up after the heist right in front of Youngworth's door. No one knows why he got beat up or who he got mad, but I still think it's an interesting thing why he thought 20 years later he had the right on that. One thing Youngworth boldly says now, he's stating that these works, he's just so frustrated and he feels beat up on. He went through the ringer on this one. He stated that these works won't be returned for 100 years. He said no one in our lifetime are going to see them. Whether that's true or not, but he's stating it boldly. Now I'd like to remind you of Bobby the Art Cop Volpe's last lecture, which he did right in this room. It was from New York to Budapest, and he described how he went to Budapest to help recover some Michelangelo and Raphael drawings, and he was successful. And for those of you who don't know Bobby, he was the NYPD's art theft investigator from 72 to 83, and he was America's first and best. And he was our Salmagundi Club president for 3 years, and he was my sponsor for membership. I'm very proud of that. And he's greatly missed. He closed his lecture with these profound words: "The true works of art are the people involved in your life. Making friends is the true art of living." And I'm very happy to have had Bobby in my art collection of friends, and I'm happy to have all of you in it now. And I'd like to close. First, before I close, I'd like to offer to bring others into my collection of friends. And this is going to be on the web again, and I know a lot of people will be watching it out there. And it's bound to be viewed by some of the art underworld, where I like to make my artistic wanderings and the investigative artistic journey. So I want to speak directly to the people out there who steal art and commit art crimes. You need to trust me. You need to contact me, and you need to trust me. And don't trust me because I'm a cop. There are good cops out there, and I'm really proud of my badge, but I'm approaching you as a neutral party. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, cops can't lie to you. It's legal for a cop to lie to you. He can walk up to you in an interrogation and say, "Hey, your boy just rolled on you. He's giving us everything on you, and you better start talking about him, or we're gonna nail you with everything." I mean, cops can lie to you, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not approaching you as a cop because I'm first and foremost an artist. And you need to trust me first and foremost because I'm an artist. You should contact me. I want to put you in the art historical perspective. I want to paint your portrait. We're going to get to know each other. You're going to realize I'm not out to hurt anybody. I'm in it to protect the art. Because art is my life. Art is what gives my life meaning. Art is a secular faith to me, just like that Bohemian tenet. It is a secular faith to me, and in spite of Youngworth's cold, hard words that the Gardner art will not be recovered in our lifetime, I'm going to keep the faith it will. So my closing words to you all is, keep the faith is art.